Right.
You get a lot more for your buck.
Sagt der Rambam, Perek Yud, sorry. Perek Yud, Hilchos Tefilin, Mezuza Sefer, Perek Yud. Halacha
I
Aleph.
hope I will not finish what I said.
I'll erase it afterwards. Don't worry. It wasn't a bad thing. Halacha Aleph. Zok the Rambam. Now the Rambam says, like it's interesting, he starts with a Perek as if in the middle of a conversation. He says 11, it turns out, based on the first 9 prakim, Sha'asarim, or actually the previous 4 prakim, Sha'asim Dvarim Heim Shekol Echad Mehem Pas Sefer Torah. There's 20 different ways to have a psul in the Sefer Torah. Okay. If in one of these psul exists in Sefer Torah, Harehu Kechumash Merachomashim Sha'am Levantereke, it's like a chumash that they use to teach children Torah, teach chumash. It doesn't have the kedusha of a Sefer Torah per se, and that's renegade to many different aspects. Even though a chumash is also holy, but it's not the kedusha of a Sefer Torah. The aim kedusha Sefer Torah, the aim came Rabbim, and the Rabbim said so. 2 different things. Rabbim does not have the kedusha of Sefer Torah. 2, you can't lane in public using the Sefer Torah. 2 different things. In other words, but etzem you could lane in public, but if with a non-kosher Sefer Torah, you have no choice. That's what we're. The point is, I'm saying you don't use it in public. That's okay. The Elu Hey, these are the 20 different ways to possibly have a Sefer Torah.
You can read. You can take out a Sefer Torah and read it.
So in a community if they don't have a kosher Sefer Torah, that's what's done. Yeah. Be'etzem. I'm not sure how common this is.
And they make a bracha on such a thing.
Yes.
On a apostle Sefer Torah.
Yeah. You can't use it to be in Yoshi Yechi of Kriya for Pasha Zachar, let's say, or certain things. But there's such a concept, and it's really I saw in commentary because most communities can afford a kosher Sefer Torah. But if you grow up in a Chabad house like me, you only had one Sefer Torah, and you found the psul in it, so you have to know what to do in these scenarios. Most people they almost never encounter these scenarios. Yeah, so my father knew these things. Yeah, I don't remember exactly the scenarios, but Baruch Hashem, by the time I was old enough, we actually got a second and third Sefer Torah, so it wasn't so common. But the time is it? Yeah, fine, weiter. These are the 20 ways to Sefer Torah be possible. Number 1, if the parchment is from a non-kosher animal. The second one is if it's written on a Sefer Torah, the parchment was not worked. You took a raw skin and you wrote on it without trying to make the leather into parchment. Gimel number 3, it was worked into parchment, but it wasn't on the Shem Sefer Torah. It was random parchment. Then you took and decided to use it for Sefer Torah. You bought it from the local back then, whatever the ancient version of
the Tanners.
Right, the Tanner, the ancient version of new Home Depot, or whatever they sell paper the paper goods store, and that doesn't count. That's not kedusha Sefer Torah. Which means you wrote it on the cloth, but you wrote it on the side that you're not supposed to write on. Hagavil b'makam basar. If you use the gavil, which is the skin as it's taken off the animal, worked with the leather without being separated into 2 layers, and you wrote on the side closer to the flesh of the animal as opposed to the side where the hair is. Balaklaf makam asir, or it's klaf when you peel the 2 layers apart. The lower skin, which is deeper, closer to the animal's body, that's called klaf, right? The surface level of the epidermis is called the chsustus. And the klaf, you're not allowed to write on the side which is closer to the hair. You have to write on the side which is closer to the flesh of the animal. But you went on the other side, that's on the hair side. You're not allowed to do that. Number 5, let's say the Torah that should be the whole on gvil. But yeah, it can be written on klaf. But if it's written on one part this, part that, it's possible not. It has to be totally gvil, or b'yeva totally klaf. But if it's part this, part that, it's possible. Above number 6 is about the chsus. You wrote on the chsusus, which is the thin layer of the top layer of the skin. When you peel the gvil, peel apart the gvil, right? You have the top layer. That's called the chsusus. That's the layer you're supposed to use for mezuzas. And b'diavad is film. I think we said it's kosher, I believe. But for a Sefer Torah, it's possible. Zayin numbers, and the reason why we said kosher is because it's a very thin type of cloth. Sefer Torah, you use it regularly, read from it, as opposed to mezuzah, which you put on the door and leave it there. It'll get torn right away. Zayin shlichtav al blei sirtut, you read the Sefer Torah, you did not make the lines. That's not allowed because you're not going to write straight. It's not covered. Chas number 8, you used ink that's not lasting black ink. There's certain types of ink that Amos has to use, like Dioy is the ideal ink. It's a lasting ink, it doesn't get erased easily. We also learned there's other types of inks that B'diavad are kosher. For example, Me'atzpo, which is I think Golnut juice it's called, I think in English, I believe. Those are also B'diavad, those are also good. But if you use a kind of black ink that's not going to last, so even though right now it's lasting, it's not kosher. Task number 9, you wrote it in different languages, right? You wrote Sefer Torah in English. Even though you may have used Lashon Kodesh characters, Hebrew characters, but the words you may have used. Let's see, you wrote in the beginning. Aleph Yud Nun is in. How do you write the in Hebrew? Dalet Aleph. Okay, I believe that's what he means. Yud, yeah. Now you can also say pshat that you use a different. I think actually later he's going to say you wrote it. Yeah, I think that's what it means, because I don't think he's including here the case where you wrote it, let's say, in English characters, Bereshis, B-E-R-E-I-S-H-I-S, that's never a pasha, it's possible, I think. Yud, Shekos Goy, Kyosef Mishab, Psalma Goy, or anybody else for that matter who's not qualified to write a Sefer Torah, wrote the Sefer Torah, for example, not Pekaris, a Min, etc. Yud Aleph, Shekos Achzorish, Lekavani, you wrote the Hashem's names without the special kavanah of Kedushas HaSefer Torah. Now, the whole Sefer Torah is supposed to be with the kavanah. But a biased ois that either b'diavad, the other, if you wrote the other words without having the kavanah kosher, or maybe it's not. Maybe you have to have the kavanah for every word in the Sefer Torah, but you have to have a separate kavanah by Hashem's name as Kedushas Sefer Torah for the Eibish's name. It's not enough you have the kedusha of a regular word. So you're writing, you stop writing, you're looking copy, But what if you're writing now a few psukim when there's no Eibish's name? You don't have to.
You don't have to.
And the Eibish's name is a shame? Aha, interesting. Okay, so you see, you have to write the Kushas Hashem and Kushas Sefer Torah. Yeah, thank you.
And you have to go to the mikveh every time before Hashem's name, right?
Right. Yud Beis, Shechasa Afilo Eis Achas, even one. Yeah. So if you think it, it's enough, but it's opposite to say. Yeah. Yud Beis, Shechasa Afilo Eis Achas, even one letter is missing. Yud Gimel, number 12. Huh? I'm sorry?
Okay.
Are you with Yud Beis?
I have English, ABC.
You Gimel 13, so by you it's what? A, B, C, anyway. You Gimel Sha'ishif, Afilo Isach, you add an extra letter. And this could be even l'chayre if it doesn't change the meaning of the word. That's possible to discuss
an extra vav, or
extra vav, or not, the vav is missing. If there's like another letter missing, obviously. But the truth is, the person discussed, do we really know the exact correct vavs and yuds? Therefore, there's a conversation in terms of if the mistake is that, in some mullah and chasser, there's room to be. That's the whole of the story. That's the whole story. So over there,
with an aleph or an a. First of all, that's not a vav and yud.
No,
it's not about being basic. It's about which
is the right one. So over there, you could say both are yes. I very actually told that. I told him once that I once asked him. I was in a community where the Sefer wasn't Lubavitch and the Sefer had a daka with a hay. So I asked him, should I make sure to hear Pasha Zohar by Purim, whatever? He says no, it's not. You can be semach on that opinion, even though after it says an aleph. Okay, a kitzer. Good. So again, this is talking about let's say the base of Bereshis is missing Lasha, or obviously there's all the real letters that are missing or extra, right? Yudalad. Shanaga by Eis one letter is touching the other. Tesvav Shinifsed the Turas Eis Achas. One of the letters is missing. It doesn't look like it's for the proper letter. Actually, Tikra called Ikra that you can't be read as such. Or the chal doesn't look like a letter at all, or it does look like a letter, but looks like a different letter. It's a beis, which is too short. It's like a nun.
So let's say you wrote the whole Sefer Torah in the Alter Rebbe's Ksav.
That's another.
And then one letter you wrote in Bes Yosef.
That's another shot. Whether the reason why this letter is deformed is because of the way it was written was incorrectly, or a hole developed which made it lose a part of its form, or there was a tear that made it lose a part of its form. Tishtush, or the whole thing got smudged. I think that's what it means. Tishtush, smudged. So now you're asking the question about what these different opinions, that each one opinion is kosher, they're valid opinions. What do you do if it's partial this, partial that? Because that's the whole shaila. And then what do you do also? A bigger shaila is what about if the partial?
I mean, there have to be consistency by the style.
So that's the shaila which is way beyond the shiur over here. But I do know it's discussed in Paskin, and I know there was a whole halacha written in 770 when the Rebbe got an aliyah on a Sefer Torah that there was the Ksav Beis Yosef wearing the lavish and tefillin. Is that considered time for the Sasri? And they're writing about that. Okay, so you all come to me about it. Test Zayin. When the letters are distant from each other in a way that they look like two separate words, when it's not supposed to. Beis read Reish Aleph space Shin Yud Taf Bereshis looks like two different words. The space between the words is not enough. Now it's like one word. Yud Zayin Sheshina Tzuras HaParshis. You made the parsha image looking correct, meaning you made a psucha stuma or a stuma psucha, or you put a parsha psucha stuma. It's not supposed to be there, b'chlal, for example. You made the shiras not look the way they're not supposed to. Right? There's a special way they're supposed to look. We learned. You randomly wrote a regular parsha in the form of one of the shiras. That's also a problem. Chav shetafar yirish shaliligdat Torah. You sewed the parchments together to each other using the sinews from a non-kosher animal. The other things we said you have to make in a Sefer Torah, that the height should be the circumference, which yesterday, a lot of other things. Those are all this lechatchila. They're the mitzvah, if you will. The Rambam's terms of lechatchila. They're not ma'akah. They don't make the Sefer Torah possible. If not, that would be b'diavad. Halacha base. Sefer kosher negin by kedusha yisheda kvav gavla. Kosher Sefer Torah has unique kedusha and therefore has to be honored in a very special way. The Rambam discusses the covenant Sefer Torah for basically the whole parent. But also, a person may not sell a Sefer Torah. He doesn't have what to eat. Now, obviously, it's a kuach nefesh. You're going to die of starvation. Not talking about that. We're talking about the case over here is that he purchased no other items, as we'll see, and he's starting to buy food. Okay, he won't die tonight. He won't die either. He doesn't eat anything next day either. But he's pushing to go hungry. So he's selling the Sefer Torah, pushing for food. Still, he's not allowed to sell a Sefer Torah. If he had multiple Sefer Torahs, he has 2 Sefer Torahs, now I have 1, or he has 10, now he has 9. Right? You might think a big deal. Even if the old Sefer Torah, he wants to buy for a new Sefer Torah. Right? And it's not considered covered Sefer Torah to do that for that reason. Now, if a person, fine. You're never allowed to sell a Sefer Torah except for 2 things. You're selling a Sefer Torah to pay your tuition yeshiva pasha. Or your child's tuition, maybe, I'm not sure. To learn or for someone else to learn Torah, I think we'll go together.
Torah for Torah.
Yeah. They get married. Right? Those are the 2 things. Now, does that apply to a person who already, huh?
There's up night. He has to sell his house first.
Oh. So that's brought taka in the Gemara. Yeah, right. But the Rambam doesn't mention that. But the chayr is
how we're going to sleep in the field.
In other words, the Rambam is taking as a given. You're now allowed to sell Sefer Torah, even for food, even if you sold everything else. Let's just mamash and puch nefesh. To get married or to learn Torah, you could, but never pashut. You sold everything else. If you have something else to sell, no, I want my watch. My Zayda gave it to me. You don't do that. Davar Pasha, he sold his house already. Yeah, fine. Now it takes it for granted. But who should he has something else to sell. You sold your house already, right? You have the house to sell, do that. Why doesn't the Rambam mention to sell that Sefer Torah for big shvuyin? So the first thing is Davar Pasha. That's why. And it's like the Pasha taka there for that you're allowed to. Because I'm over here. Okay. So there's really 3 things, right? Okay.
Are you allowed to exchange Sefer Torah?
So that's a good question. I'm not sure. And also gifting a Sefer Torah. Now, what is it? So I think there's more. It's more involved halachically because people do sell Sefer Torahs. Shul sell Sefer Torahs sometimes. They're about to him Sefer Torah right of the brothers, the Shapir brothers. I don't know exactly what the restrictions are, but as a rule 1, we don't sell Sefer Torahs. That's the thing. Now, in terms of getting married, the question is: a person already has kids. In kind of pivot review, right? He's getting married a woman now. She's already not shocked to have kids. He wants to just get remarried in his older age. Is that a heft to sell Sefer Torah, or is it dafka only for pivot review? No, it's not clear.
It's not a pivot review.
Fine. I'm saying it's discussed. Sefer Torah shabala shnifsi. You have a Sefer Torah that got worn out, and so therefore, oishnifsi became possible. Now, shabala means it got worn out. It's not possible though. But the word is, it's not the fit to read.
It's not Mahuda.
I'm not sure exactly. In other words, if you can't read from it, that is possible. But I'm not sure exactly. Okay, part of it's if the ball got worn out, therefore it's possible you can't read it. Or shnifsal, it's not because it got worn out. It looks beautiful. Why it become possible? Because some guy undid all the years and tied them together again with the giddim of a camel. Okay, whatever. So, what do you do? You put it in the earthenware keli. Earthenware kelis last a long time. They sit in the ground. They don't rot. The kavin etzel to mechamim, and you buried it next to Talmud Chacham because it's covered that to be buried next to Talmud Chacham. The zoo he nizas. That's how you put it in Shemesh. That's its storage for all eternity. Now, that's why you find taka. All the old scrolls were stored in earthenware kelim because that's how they stored them. I don't know if it's needs necessarily, right? But that's how it was done.
No,
Geniza,
the Geniza wasn't an earthenware.
That's what this is, earthenware. Yeah, but it wasn't buried in the ground necessarily. In Qumran, the scrolls were like okay. Yeah. Now the mantle of Sefer Torah, basically the cover, the outside. Shabalu that got worn out. What do you do with them? So that doesn't have the kedusha of a Sefer Torah. Mamash, the Rambam says you do with them is mitzvah. Person is a meis mitzvah. No one, the community has to bury him. So the community has to put the money together. For tachrichim, they can use the mantle of a Sefer Torah.
You don't use tachrichim. You only use linen, white linen. You don't make.
Oh, that's how it's made. But if a situation comes where instead of having the tzibur having to collect money to buy tachrichim for this guy, not they have to collect money to buy a plot for him. For the tachrichim, you can use this mantle of Sefer Torah apparently. V'zu hiknizas, and that's their shemesh. They're buried with him as his tachrichim for this person. Halacha dalet. Tik shulchan l'Sefer Torah l'chuba. You have a case that's been prepared for Sefer Torah to be kept in it, right? You have, let's say, not the month necessarily this case, but it's like the Svardish cases they use, or it's like a travel case, by the IDF. They carry Sefer Torah. See, the guys have a Sefer Torah in like a special backpack. Yeah, the chamet bachis, which mitbachis is the Tosfos says it's the perichas that we have in our Kodesh. Rashi wants to learn it's like a perichas that's inside our Kodesh door, which most Aron Kodesh don't usually have. Yeah, right. I've seen other initials have it. Okay, whatever.
They have a white shmata
inside. Yeah.
Looks like they make it out of satin.
Yeah. The Aron and the Aron Kodesh itself. Migdal Shemanicha Besefer. Migdal, I think is the Aron. Remember we said there's two Aron Kodesh that had in time of the Gemara. There was the one that was Sefer was kept for long term in the front of the shul, and then when there was the day of Christmas Torah, they would take it out before davening, put it in like a little Aron Kodesh right in front of the bima. That's the Migdal, I believe. Yeah, you put the Sefer Torah there. Even though the Sefer essentially is always in its case. Again, like let's imagine the Svardish Sefer Torah, right? So essentially the bima is not Tashmisha Kedusha, or the Aron Kodesh is Tashmisha Kedusha, because it's holding the thing which is holding the Sefer Torah. So it's like a step removed. It's like a klisheni. Nevertheless, the chair which is prepared to place the Sefer Torah on a day where they have, let's say, they take two Sefer Torahs. So we hold the Sefer Torah, but some places the meaning is to put it on like a chair. I've seen in shuls that do that. I think the shul I grew up in, they did that. It's like a special chair. It has like two holes to put the Sefer Torah. It should sit there. Yeah, and it has been used. Not just was prepared; it's actually used once, right? Yeah. So Akil, the Tashmisha Kedusha, they're all considered Tashmisha Kedusha. Not just the thing which the Sefer Torah is placed in, but even the Aron, which holds the case, which holds the Sefer Torah, that also the Zarki, not allowed to throw them when you pass them one person to another, you have to hand it, you can't throw it. I don't think the Zarki means throw it in the garbage, because that's like an English expression, to throw in the trash, we throw it, but the Zarki means push to throw it, you're not allowed to throw it. Or maybe actually it does mean that, because now he's going to say what to do if it's time to get rid of it. It's time to put it in the Mezuza, so I'm not sure. When it gets worn out, if it breaks, you put it in the shemus. However, the person that the special platform, the person holding the Sefer Torah holds, meaning stands on, in other words, apparently when they would take the Sefer Torah out of the Aron, there was like the Chazan would stand in front of the Aron Kodesh holding the Sefer Torah on that platform. And then from there he'd go to the bima, I guess. I think that's what it means. Yeah, so like he would stand there while in that place. Like maybe if he was standing for everyone come kiss the Sefer Torah. I don't know how long he stood there, what the purpose of that was. But also the luchos, the tablets that they would, not tablets they have today, but the tablets that they write on them for the kids to learn. Ain't ben kedusha, no kedusha on them. Now, what is written on these tablets? If it's different Torah, if it's psukim, why? So the chayre it doesn't have Hashem's name. It has different brachas. Baruch atah Hashem's name is not written, or it has the aleph and the kudes. It doesn't have actually words of the Torah apparently, I guess. That's not considered. It doesn't have kedusha. Therefore, it's not even tashmisha kedusha. So when it breaks, you throw in the garbage.
Does this bima fall into that category?
Sure, l'chayre, 100%. Especially because our Sefer Torah Ashkenazim don't have a case around them. So it's mamish tashmisha kedusha. L'chayre.
You want to take it home?
No, but when I was in Yeshiva Toronto, I remember they had like a weird thing they used for a bima. It was like a leftover from because they bought a bank building. And that was the bima. And then when they got a proper bima, they just threw it in the garbage. I remember. I said, I don't know exactly. I remember I was like wondering afterwards. Like I learned this. I was like thinking about that. Whatever. It could be it was a design they made. I don't know. The pomegranates of silver and gold that they make for the Sefer Torah as like crowns, as we all know, of course. They are considered the for decoration. Tashmisha Kedushin. They are considered Tashmisha Kedusha because they are meant to be for the Sefer Torah. But also the Tzion and the Chayil, you not allowed to use them for any Chayil purposes, right? You want to put it on your on your car. The only thing you're allowed to do is selling them for the purpose of buying the Sefer Torah Chumash. That's allowed because they are not mamash Sefer Torah. So Tashmisha Kedusha, apparently, these are things. You could sell. The things selling on Kodesh as well. You could sell for Sefer Torah L'chayra. The Ram doesn't mention it because it's not so common to sell it on Kodesh. But a silver, gold, and green mine, right? You could sell that. That's a very common example. You would sell, and I'm saying if you sell it to use the money to buy Sefer Torah, that's allowed. So again, also you're not allowed to use their expenses. Leitzin means the expenses use them for chayil unless you sell them to buy Sefer Torah. That's all machlekes over there in the Torah synagogue in Rhode Island, right? That was what happened because they wanted to sell those famous Rimonium that was made by who's a famous American silversmith. John,
No,
whatever.
the
I
guy
could
from the beard. What's his name?
No, it wasn't Samuel Adams?
Yeah.
No, I don't think it was.
No,
He
what's
made
his
it? I don't think so.
Right, he's an American silversmith. He
Okay,
was.
so that was the mindset of that. Halacha hey, look at weiter. Mutter nech sefer agav sefer. You're allowed to put one sefer Torah on top of another sefer Torah.
You stack them.
At least the chila. At least b'diavad. Excuse me. Some say it's chila. The Rambam is chila, but something means b'diavad. Okay.
And this has to be what they're flat.
Yeah.
So in the understanding that they can lean on each other.
It's the same thing. Lahaniach says that it doesn't mamish flat like that, but even leaning is a question.
Okay.
And the Gemara says, how do we know? Because look at Aaron Kodesh, that's how it's by all generations we know for the fact that's how they were kept. That's the halacha. So one sefer Torah could be placed on another sefer Torah. Needless to say, a sefer Torah on top of chumash is for sure okay. Like our chumash, our books. Let's say this Aaron Kodesh, they have, let's say, separate scrolls. Just chumash devarim by itself, chumash, whatever. And that's for sure okay to have a sefer Torah on that. On top of that, lean on that. Manichin chumash, nivim ksuvim. Sefer Torah can go on a chumash can be placed on nevim or ksuvim. But in manichin nevim ksuvim magab chumash, you shouldn't put a nacher, nevim ksuvim on top of the chumash, because chumash is considered more holy because the nevuah of Moshe Rabbeinu is unique among the nevuahs, right? Because the chumash was the David should give us in Har Sinai. It says that if the Yidden didn't need all the averes, didn't all the rebuke and the chachas of the nevim, all you would have is the chumash Torah and Sefer Yeshua. Sefer Yeshua is unique, but so that's why it's different. You don't put a chumash sefer Torah. Excuse me. All holy writings. Even the halachas nagados which are not perishot. And you're not allowed to write it down. You only write it down because we shouldn't forget the Torah. So you might think that in fact it's written down, it has like a lower level of kedusha. Or maybe there's no kedusha because the whole idea of writing is not appropriate. All the slurs are great, so you're still not allowed to throw them. Hakameim sheish ben another because the Kurdish have these little amulets, and they have in them all sorts of whatever people make different amulets. They have psukim in them on the kiss of Kurdish, holy content. So you should not bring them into the bathroom. Now you shouldn't throw them either. But the Rambam is saying who brings a chumash in the bathroom. But these amulets, people who are around the neck, with the chamas and the hocus pocus and whatever. Some of them have whatever different things on them. The Rambam's opinion about that is another conversation. But anyways. So very common thing, if you're not careful, you bring it to the bathroom. Or mincha marav in your pocket, right? You bring it to the bathroom. You should not bring it to the bathroom. It has to be covered with its own separate leather case.
So in your pocket, it's okay.
Oh, so my Zayda always kept this mincha marav in a plastic bag. Right. I think in two plastic bags actually. Okay, anyway. So that's the solution over there. It's like, if you're in the airport, if you go into the bathroom, you only leave your backpack if you have no one to watch it. Right. You bring your backpack into the bathroom. It's usually in the bathroom of the airports. Most usually wait to use it like a wall. It's not mamish in the bathroom. With the sink is you can still see it. So that's what I usually do. But it is a little risky. Okay. The Magen Avraham says in the Rambam is mashma basically that you're allowed to bring bechlal kisvei kodesh into the bathroom as long as it's covered, has some sort of case, some sort of cover. Right. Yep. Yeah, but here could be even if it has a case which is designated for it. A person should not hold the sefer Torah in his arm. According to the bathhouse, so this case or the bathroom, or the basic kvash, or to a cemetery. And could be even if it has a case on it, I think that one means. It's not by covered, it can be in that way. Wrapped in a wrapping. It's wrapped in a wrapping and then also in its case. So it's like double wrapping. One of them is not in the case. Because that's not the covered way to bring this into the bathroom. So if a person has to be into the bathroom, what is the solution? That's not 100% clear. But this is not the hold it while you're in there is not appropriate. The previous halacha we learned you can't have a chumash on a navi. The Ramar says that if it's a one bound book, it's okay if when you close it, like on the top over here is the navi and the bottom part is the chumash. That's not a problem because it's one sefer. Two separate form, it's not makabel. If it's one sefer, it's not a problem. That's why we're knowing not to put a Tanya and a chumash on top of each other. But if it's in chitas, it's all one book. It's not an issue. So the issue is that the chitas, the chumash is tack on top, and then Tefilin and Tanya. You can be'emes have it, Tanya and Tefilin chumash. It's not, All right. Now, so 1 second. You're now going to bring the sefer Torah in the bathhouse, and basically you say, why not? Because it's not a covered for sefer Torah. You can't bring the Bezek Chorus, why not? Because you're making fun of a dead person, he's not able to learn. That's mitzad that. Why is this in Din Hilchos Sefer Torah, not in Hilchos Avelis? It does say over there as well. Because use the Sefer Torah, you also now bring your tzitzis or tefillin to the base like or Sefer Torah. But using the Sefer Torah as a way to make fun of a dead person, you can't learn Torah. That's a bizarre of the Sefer Torah. Besides the fact that it's loy l'rosh, making fun of the person who passed away, can't learn Torah. Okay. Now you shouldn't read from Sefer Torah. So you now have it with the dalamas of a caver. He shouldn't read from Sefer Torah or unless it's amas away from the caver. Or even from a dead body. Let's say he's in the funeral home, right? He's washing the mess. He shouldn't learn the dalamas of the mess. Or even makes a kisha off in the bathroom because he has not covered it. The person should not hold the Sefer Torah when the Sefer Torah is Arum, is meaning it doesn't have anything around it. He's holding the bare Sefer Torah, naked, so to speak, is the word Arum, yeah? You shouldn't touch the cloth with your bare hands. But also, you're now allowed to sit on a bed or a surface upon Sefer Torah, or that matter, it's by the way, the same thing as well as Svarim B'chlal. It says that if it's a tefach surface, the Sefer Torah is on, then it's okay. It's not considered the same surface. So I'm on the bench, and you have a box or some kind of tefach tall, and on that is the Sefer Torah, I consider the same bench because it's considered separate because it has a tefach tall. Here's a bench, yeah? This is a book about the Moby Dick, and it's a tefach tall, and Sefer Torah is on it, I consider the same bench. Since the Sefer Torah, I'm saying it's not a Sefer. This Sefer Torah is on this one tefach tall item, it's removed from the bench. Now, some say that the Rambam would agree with that. Now, the Pasha Pshat Rambam is talking about the parchment. The other one, people want to say Pshat, that's talking about the Eitz Chaim. My understanding is that there are people who don't touch the Eitz Chaim with their bare hands, that use the talus.
The Rebbe would hold the Eitz Chaim with the talus.
So my understanding is that the Frierdiker Rebbe did that.
His father did.
1 second. My understanding is the Frierdiker Rebbe would do that.
Didn't do it.
The Rebbe did not do it. When the Rebbe would get an aliyah that the Frierdiker Rebbe used to get, then he would do it. That's my understanding.
How about
But, huh?
What was the last
The
name?
Frierdiker Rebbe would hold his Eitz Chaim with his talus.
Yeah, right.
The Rebbe didn't. The Rebbe always held it with his hand.
I always thought that the Rebbe used the talus.
However, when the Rebbe would get an aliyah, the Frierdiker Rebbe got, like when there was certain aliyahs, the Frierdiker Rebbe was always get. Maftiyonia, whatever it was, I don't know. Then he would use it. He would have the Frierdiker Rebbe's meaning of using his talus. That's what I was told. Listen, I'm a late comer here.
I saw when I was late.
Yeah, fine, okay, no problem. I'm wrong. I'm wrong. The second time in my life, I'm wrong. So Zion. Okay, that's what I was told. I don't know.
Okay.
Halach Zion. Basically, a house that has a Sefer Torah inside it. A house meaning a room, a structure.
Right.
Also, Shamesh B'Tase, a person out of marital relations, Vayachi simply removes it. We do the same thing with Tefillin. Or he puts it in a case. The first case could be its designated case, like the velvet, like the it's regular silver case of a Sadish potato. But actually, put in an unusual case, not a non-designated case. If it was a case, it was also designated. Even 10 cases, one top of the other, and the Sefer Torah is in each one of them. It's one it has to be at least one of them is non-designated. So exactly, that wouldn't help either, right? A person, a shliach has an Aron Kodesh in his house. That's not a problem because it's two different rooms, right? But if he has one room, he's a shliach in somewhere
It
poor.
doesn't say about rooms, it says in the same house.
Bias means a structure, right? But so in this context, different room has a different din, yeah. It's a different bias. Another eight is you make them a partition 10 tefachim tall.
But it says it can't be a curtain.
What's the get mechitza is a good question, yeah.
Right. I thought a curtain was sufficient, but I guess it's
Okay, who says it can't be?
he just said.
Fine. Okay, some kind of permanent, more freestanding structure, not a curtain hanging. You say. Fine. Maybe the curtain has like a stand, so it's suspended as facish. So mechitza of 10 tefachim tall, a partition 10 tefachim tall, which is how many inches? Right, a tefach is 3 inches. That's 30 inches.
It's not very high.
No, if he doesn't have another house. If you have another house, another room, you're not allowed to do that. Yeah. It's only going to another room or another place to bring it. Then you make a mechitza, put it like one case inside another case. If he has another house, also there's no head to have around relation until you remove it. Halacha test. Thank you. Whoever's tamei. Now, a person tamei, he can't go to the Mikdash. So your holy Sefer Torah is holy, meaning you can't touch the Sefer Torah either. You might think. So Jam no. All types of tmeim. Afilu nida, even a nida. Afilu goyim, even a goy who has din of a zav, as Ram will tell us in the Mishkan Meishav Perek Beis. Right? Can't wait for that. Afilu goyim, yeah. Mutarim lachas Sefer Torah. Look at you're allowed to touch the Sefer Torah. Allowed to Sefer Torah. She'ein Sefer Torah mekabel tumah. The words of Torah are not mekabel tumah. As long as the hands are not metunafes means I believe in this context dirty, but not dirty just physically, That's the next word. But Tunafis means it's in a situation where you're supposed to wash your hands before you say Sefer Torah. You touch the part that's covered in the moshe, you scratch your head. That's you shouldn't touch the Sefer Torah. Otherwise, it's fine. It's partially physically dirty. Wash your hands for the physical dirt or for the spiritual dirt. Then only afterwards may you touch the Sefer Torah. 1 second, sorry. Yeah, right. Halacha test. A person sees Sefer Torah while it's going, meaning while it's being carried. Chayav on the punah, he has to stand in front of it. Even if he doesn't see it, but he hears it. What does it mean? You hear it? He hears the bells, or he hears the person's footsteps. He knows the same. Everyone should stand until the person who is carrying it, until he stands. Yama means he stops. Right? I don't think it's sit down, Dafka, but he has to stop. Arminic is to say standing as long as he's standing, but I'm not sure if that's a chiv mamish. Because you get the when he reaches the proper place, yeah, wherever he's going to be. Fine. Yeah, if he stops to rest, that doesn't count. Or it's so far they can no longer see it. Then afterwards, they're going to have to sit down. Halacha Yud. Now, the Rebbe apparently he quotes the Sikh over here, where till now is the chiv of our obligation to respect the Sefer Torah. Now he talks about the makom the Sefer Torah is kept. That place has to be treated. It has to be a certain concept. Mitzvah yachat Sefer Torah makom is a mitzvah designated a place for Sefer Torah. Now, if you keep it here one day, keep it here the next day. But that place should also be respected and honored excessively. Because the things that are in the luchis that we got from Hashem are in every Sefer Torah. So Yara can other take a Sefer Torah person that spit in front of Sefer Torah, which by Alina we spit, you're supposed to turn away, it says in Sefer Torah. Well, the Chal person spit, you should turn away from the Aron Kodesh. But Yagala of also connected, you shouldn't be naked in front of it. But you shouldn't stretch out his feet, which I guess means to put your feet up on a chair, right? If he has to carry, he should put it on his head like a burden. He shouldn't do that. A person should not turn his back to Sefer Torah unless it was 10 tefachim above him. So in 770, with the bima, you go up to the bima over there, where all these big shuls, the bima, you walk up to it. In that case, it's not so bad to have your back to Sefer Torah because it's a separate rishus of cats, right? He was the Gabbai. He would say, "En kan koyin yamoy." How did he do that? He was a koyin himself. So don't be very patient because he was a different rishus. So you call the Yisrael. All right, look it out. Good. Good. He said there are masas Shulchan Aruch that in front of a person carrying a chumash not mechuyev to stand. Yesh machmir. There are those people who stand on a person carrying a chumash and walking. I never saw that. I understand. A person carrying a chumash, not a Sefer Torah. A person is traveling with a Sefer Torah. A person should not put the Sefer Torah in a sack. Put the sack on the donkey. Be love and sit on the donkey. Not only on the Sefer Torah, obviously you shouldn't sit on the Sefer Torah, but riding the donkey, the Sefer Torah next to you is also not appropriate, apparently. That's what's the shot over here. If he's afraid of Ganavim, so then it's mutter to not sit on the Sefer Torah. It means it's mutter to have it on the donkey next to you to protect it. If there's no fear, then ideally what you do, hold it like this. Now he's afraid to do that. Maybe someone come grab it. So this way he puts. So if it's a ganavim, then he puts it on the donkey. If it's no ganavim, hold it like this.
He's going to fall off the donkey.
This is a small Sefer Torah about. Why is the Hema while walking? Yeah.
Can you wear it in his backpack?
I'm not sure. The IDF they do a basis. I'm sure they asked the rabbi over there. I hope so at least. Call me Sheisha if they a person sits in front of Sefer Torah. Yeshiv the Teva Drei should sit with seriousness. Me'emo pach with fear and dread. Shuaid the Heron the Chol Be'elam because Sefer Torah is the testimony to all the people of the world that the Eibush is Eibush and he created the world and that there's Sarva Eibush. That we are his people. Remember, it says V'Haya Sham B'Chol Eibush should be a testimony for you. I assume that's what it means by it says Eid, but honor as much as you can. Whoever disparages the Torah, his person will be disparaged by other people. Whoever honors the Torah, his person will be honored by other people. And when the pasuk shot is the Torah, honoring the Torah, keeping Torah mitzvahs, but we're saying it applies to but Sefer Torah, Kipshutei over here as well. I doubt you're not being master today. No, I'm just kidding. I forgot.
What does it mean?
Also, rides the animal, but one hand you hold the side, one hand you hold the potato like this. That's the ideal way. Putting it on next to the animal, having it on the animal next to
only
you,
if there's ganov
that's
money.
not appropriate. If the ganov, you're allowed to, because I guess it's easier to guard it that way.
What do you mean?
Where?
Probably to sit on it also.
Yeah, well, I mean, why is it halach there? Why is it davar pasha? Who sits on the animal in one place? I don't know. Good question.
The one thing that wasn't mentioned in this is about not taking off tefillin while
Funny
sitting.
Sefer, yeah.
It doesn't mention anything.
Right, right.
Not to take off tefillin.
I think it says in Hilchos keep it down, not to take a tefillin in front of your teacher. It says. That says to honor your teacher. You don't move your tefillin in front of him, no. But the Alter writes in my recollection in the last Siman Fateh, if you turn away from the Sefer like this, you're allowed to take a tefillin off.
Right. Right.
Yeah. Okay, that's what I remember. That's what they taught me in yeshiva.
You can't be facing the table.